closing afterwards. Okay, so let's start. So here with us is the amazing Daniel Negreanu, and my co-host will introduce him in just a few seconds because we have this tradition. But basically, thank you, Daniel, for joining. It's amazing to have you here. And now, according to us, Bagova's tradition.
No, we're not going to do as Bagova tradition. We usually introduce our guests by diving through their handle mobs. But we only have an hour with you and not like 2 weeks. So, but also you don't really need an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm actually saying these words. Welcome to Us Bagova, Daniel Negreanu.
My name. It's good to be on Us Bagova. Yeah.
How are you? It's almost midnight at Vegas, right?
It is. I'm glad we can make this happen. I know it's difficult for you guys because you're overseas, and over here it's late. But you know, I put it in my calendar because I didn't want to miss it.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I will just say, just before we start the conversation, our camera is here and the monitor is here. So we're going to ask the questions to the camera. But if you guys see that we're looking over there, it's just because we can see Daniel over there. So we're going to talk a lot about you, about poker. But I think that the most hot topic and one of the reasons you're here is your awesome and amazing support for us Israelis. So I think first thing first, thank you. And we really appreciate not only as poker players, but also as Israelis, your amazing support, your tweets on Twitter. And I wanted to ask you, because it made me curious, because as far as we know, you're not Jewish, and I don't know of any like family relatives you have in Israel. So I'm curious to know, where did this support come from?
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, really common sense, but I did grow up, you know, my parents have a lot of Jewish friends, and my two best friends in high school were Regev and Oren, and they're Israeli, and that's how I learned to speak some Hebrew, and I learned some bad songs from them and different things like that. So
we're familiar with those bad songs. I think we have some questions about them.
We'll get to that, yeah.
Particular songs.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I think, and I'm glad I appreciate what you had to say, because there are a lot of people that are Jewish who, you know, have come to me privately and said thank you, because they do feel alienated, they do feel ostracized, and there's not enough people speaking up for them. And it's like the world has gone so insane and so crazy that we've quickly forgotten who was victimized here. You know, like October 7th is just a blip for them. It doesn't even, you know, register on the radar. And you have this large group of young, impressionable kids on these campuses watching TikTok videos, getting one side of the story. And I felt like I'm like everyone's going crazy around me. So I thought it's important for me to speak out and say, hey, I'm here and I'm not crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we didn't actually divide how we're going to do the question, but we'll just do it one by one. I wanted to also ask, I assume we get a lot of backlash. I mean, I read your Twitter threads. You get a lot of backlash. How do you feel about all these reactions for you supporting the Israeli community?
Well, listen, I'm not surprised, right? Because it's a very heated topic and people are dug in their heels and they believe that they're right. But I live by a motto that I have for many years. And it's a quote I heard, and it said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. And that's not how I live my life, really. You know, I'm not afraid of the controversy. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the thing. I think a lot of people misunderstand. They don't realize how much I understand about the conflict. Everyone thinks that, you know, I studied this conflict 3, 4, 5 years ago because I was very curious about the depth of it. And I remember moments where I'm saying, you know what? You know, swaying back and forth in terms of what makes the most sense until I finally came to that conclusion. One guy in particular, Rudy Rochman, who I'm sure you're familiar with, you know, he does a lot of great videos on YouTube and stuff like that. And so I dug deep well before it, you know. So I find it funny when these people come to me on Twitter telling me I know nothing about the conflict when they didn't even know it existed before October 7th. They didn't understand it at all. But now it's like, it's a new fashionable topic, you know, like, let me get a kifa, be cool, and chant some slogans that I don't know what they mean, you know?
Right. Yeah, we're all familiar with what's going on UCLA and Columbia. We totally get it.
Yeah, we want to ask, speaking of Israel, and not just about the support in this topic, but we have many successful Israeli poker players, which then don't say Eli Elazar because we know you know him, but Do you know any other Israeli famous players whom you respect?
Well, I don't know about famous, but I mean, like I said, I mean, there was my two brothers basically are Israeli, and we started playing poker as teenagers. They're not famous, but they weren't too bad, back then. Obviously, Eli Elezber is the name, that you're all going to know.
Yeah. He's a good friend.
Yeah, and I got, there's so many, but they're not hitting the top of my head right now. Most of them, no limit players. Eli is unique because Eli plays everything, so that's how I've known him for so many years. And but there's a lot of other players that are Israel adjacent, like the Mizrahis and Yuval Bronstein and different players like that. They're not necessarily, or Ari Engel, Jewish players that are not necessarily Israeli, which I think, in the world today, people don't realize that's two different things.
I totally agree. And by the way, you just spoke about Eli Elezra, and once I posted on Twitter that you're going to be on our podcast, he wanted just to say that he's feeling that this year you will be once again battling heads up for a WSOP bracelet, and he said that he will win again since you are second place expert when it comes to WSOP bracelet.
That's
That's the needle from Elezra.
All right, a needle. When he's asleep, he's needling me. All right, I'm gonna get him for that one tomorrow.
He's needling across the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Back and forth.
That's a long needle.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you. Lately, you've said in an interview that you want to visit Israel. We wanted to know what would it take for this to happen. Like, how can we help you, or what would make it happen?
Well, I've wanted to I have a short list of countries. There's 5 of them that are on my list of countries I'd like to see. And Israel's up, top of my list. If I were to go, for me, what would be most important is going with my friends, Oren and Regev, sort of have them show me around. They have family there still. But I think that, I don't think I would have trouble fitting in and having a great time. There's other, I know enough people from that region that I would call on you guys too, take me to the best, because I like hummus, I like falafel, I like everything.
So we'll go to hummus.
My wife, by the way, my wife makes fun of me because I speak regular English. Then she's like, you speak no regular English. Then you say hummus. I'm like, I can't say it wrong, okay? The way to say it is hummus. But here in America, people say, can I get some hummus? And I can't do that. So she says, okay, can I have some of this and some hummus? She's like, you can't change your accent in the middle of the sentence. And I disagree.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
If you do come to Israel, I make a mean vegan shakshuka. So
by the way, if you do come to Israel, we of course invite you here to our amazing studio. Will be lovely to have you face to face. You know what? Let's address the elephant in the room. And in this case, the elephant is Justin Bonomo. I even just read this morning your tweet with him about basically implying that he's a useful idiot. We know that since October 7, of course, we are on your side. I was blocked by him on Twitter already.
Shocker.
I mean, how do you feel that there is an elite player, like a high stakes, one of the most probably profitable players, or at least regarding income, one of the top elite players? How do you feel when he has such extreme agenda about his tolerance to terrorism?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, right? Being intelligent and a good poker player doesn't stop you from being captured by an ideology. And I like to go back a little bit with this guy specifically. It really started with the most innocent thing of microaggressions and pronouns and, cultural appropriation, right? And it was a hop, step, and a jump from that to full on Justin Jihadimo, right? I call him Justin Jihadimo because he loves jihad, Yeah. But no, so what happened, I really do believe that he's the perfect example. He's the poster boy of the useful idiot. In 1984, Yuri Bezmenov did a video explaining exactly what Russia's plan was in terms of how they were going to weaken the West, right? And one of the ways in which they were going to do that in the 60s and 70s was bring professors to Russia, show them how beautiful it is and how great communism is, and then start to instill Marxism, Leninism, and all these types of things into the kids' heads, right? And you've only seen that progress. And he's a perfect example of somebody who's so captured that there's no turning back. So I don't ever address him directly. Like I don't block him. He can say what he wants, all his madness or whatever, but I don't take him as a serious person. You know, like I had this really long tweet I was going to send, and I showed it to Robbie, and he's like, yeah, don't send that one maybe. But like, here's the thing that he doesn't even realize. There was a man here, a soldier, who he's mentally ill. Obviously, he was totally enveloped in the Free Palestine thing. So he took a gallon of gasoline, poured it over his head, lit a match, and killed himself, just to say Free Palestine. Right? Just a completely foolish act that does nothing for anybody and is just not something you want to promote. What did Bonomo say? I'm not as brave as he is. So he's glorifying suicide, right? This doesn't do anything. This doesn't help anything. You should never glorify something like this. Suicide is bad in every context, but he's so captured by the ideology that like I said, he's going to do what he wants to do. And most people just take him for what he is. And here's what he does. He has an echo chamber. He blocks everybody. Blocked you, right? So it's not like he's going to go on Twitter and convince everybody, oh, you know what? Bonomo's right. Bonomo's been wrong about everything for like 10 years about all these social issues. This one too. He didn't know much about this conflict until recently. So he's been fed. And it's funny because like I read the things, this is factually wrong, right? The numbers they have, like one thing in specific I wanted to address real quick is just like the Gaza Ministry of Health, which is run by Hamas. We know that. Yes. If you take their numbers, just say, okay, how many people were killed? Oh, okay, you say this many? All right, do the math, okay? When you do the math and you compare it to the number of Hamas militants, the actual ratio of civilian deaths is lower than expected, lower than average. But that's not what they see. It's actually much, much lower than even that because you don't even factor in natural cause of death, rockets they fired that landed on their own people, So we don't know the whole number. What we do know, though, is there's many provisions. Every eye in the world is watching Israel, right? They have to abide by the international law. And I can't stand when people keep saying the word genocide over and over as if it's true, when no court ruled it. Actually, the president said we did not judge that it was a plausible genocide. So they get it from these people, they just buy it, and they keep spouting it, and that one drives me nuts. I say, when you call it a genocide, when Israel defends himself, but every other war, by your definition, how is not every other war a genocide? How many did we kill in Afghanistan? How many did we how many did we kill in Japan when we dropped the bomb there? All these wars, so many people have died in bigger numbers, they never say genocide, but only if it's Jews. Because if it's the Jews, oh no. And this is the last thing, because I'm on a rant. No. Everyone talks about ethno-cleansing, right? Oh, they want an ethno-state. The one state that 20% of the population is Arab, 2 million Arabs live there, surrounded by tons of countries that actually are ethno-states, where there are no Jews, there are no Christians. What are you talking about? Mapitom, no? Come on. Seriously, a whole bunch of ethno-states, and you want to accuse Israel, the one place where you can pray freely, Muslims are in the IDF, you can walk the streets if you're a gay man. Women have rights. They can take the things, they can show their hair. And you want to call them the ones looking for it. It's just batshit crazy.
Yeah, you won't find any agreement here in this.
I know that. I'm speaking to the choir.
Yeah. This is amazing, that the fact that you are saying those really logical things and people choose to not listen, to just ignore everything that you say, and it's beyond me.
You know what it is? You know what it is, and it's sad, but it's true. Video and images cause an emotional reaction in people, right? Nobody likes to see child with their face bombed off and burning. Nobody likes that. And when you see that, and then you connect that to the idea that these people are doing it, you want them to stop, right? So this is where it comes from, that they're going to have that emotional reaction, which, is a normal emotional reaction, but they don't understand that, like, the reason that so many civilians die, even that they do, is because of the way Hamas fights. It's because of the way Hamas chose. I heard Coleman Hughes say this, and there's really two wars going on. One is a military war, which Israel's going to win because Hamas knew that they couldn't win this war. So why did Hamas strike? Because they're fighting a different war. They're fighting a PR war. Okay, they're winning that war. Unfortunately, they are winning that war. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're looking long term. Their goal is to weaken the West and cause infighting and stuff like that. So unfortunately, they are winning the war. They knew. Like, what did I always ask? Why do you? Hamas can't be that stupid. They knew when they attacked on October 7th exactly what was going to happen. They chose to do it. Why? Look deeper, people. Look deeper. It's all part of the bigger plan to weaken and divide us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And
Thank you for those words.
exactly for us,
Yeah.
it means a lot because we know, as you said, PR-wise, as Israelis, we are very frustrated with what's going on out there in social media and media in general. Because as you said,
One more.
yeah,
Sorry, I know I'm
go.
ranting.
We will let you
Yeah,
say whatever you
One
want.
more. So when I was talking earlier about like sort of the woke ideology, what these kids learn in school is they learn this. They learn oppressor and oppressed, and they see everything through this lens, this dynamic of the oppressor is morally corrupt and evil, and the oppressed by default are righteous and good, right? And now when you look at this battle for these people, they're seeing it play out. They're seeing, okay, white, they call them white Israelis, white military power backed by Israel, wealthy, versus poor, brown, weak, oppressed folks. So naturally, they've been trained for so many years to see things through these lens of the oppressed that they're obviously going to side with that group.
It's always nice to people like grouping, siding with the underdog, no matter what, or the oppressed in this case.
And you know what, though? I wish they would understand who the underdog is, because really, there's like one little sliver in the region, tiny little sliver of Jews that just want to be left alone, surrounded by 5 billion people who want them destroyed. Who's the underdog here? Just because the underdog's winning doesn't mean that they're not the underdog.
I think it's also an issue of that they have a difficult to understand complexity. Like there's not always a clear oppressor and a clear one being oppressed. Life is complicated. It's not just black and white.
Exactly, and you can, and you're actually right. But like, unfortunately, because they practice that so often that they literally see, like, if I'm a boss and I have an employee, I'm the oppressor, they're the oppressed. Because I make money and I pay them. It's like they're brainwashed and trained. Like, this is what we're seeing. This is a cult, okay? This is the early stages of a cult. You just watch these kids on these campuses reciting lines, slogans, doing exactly what they're told. It happens quickly with young people because young people, their prefrontal cortex not fully developed yet, very impressionable, very easy to manipulate these kids. This is exactly why the Ayatollah right now is laughing, because he's like, I can't believe this is working so well. Putin in Russia, the Ayatollah, over in China, they're thinking, this is so easy. This is too easy, guys.
Too easy. Yes.
Yeah. It's too easy.
You can imagine them like sitting in the room and going like this, like, I can't believe it was so easy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask another question about Israel, or we want to move to another topic?
No, we can skip those questions.
Let's talk a bit about you. Maybe if we want to get back to Israel, we can get back to it later. I want to ask the next question.
Okay, we wrote some questions, and the one that is like in the top of the list for me is, by numbers, 2023 was one of the worst years you ever had. So far, 2024 is going great. What has changed? You do have an explanation?
Yeah, no, I did a video. I did a video on YouTube, about 20-25 minute video, sort of explaining my process, right? So actually, I've been quite fortunate throughout my career to not have losing years, because when you play high stakes and you play a very small sample, you're not going to win more all the time. You're going to have like a lot of losing years, you would think, right? 100, 150 tournaments. It's very easy, as you know, especially if you play online poker. So what I do is I look at the year and I do two things. I call it a coaching triangle. I look at myself, what worked? What things did I do that really worked well? Okay, let's focus on that. Write those down. What didn't work? What are things that I can improve upon, right? And one of the things that I found last year, and it was funny because it was my wife who figured it out. It's always in the weirdest places, right? Like, I've been playing 30 years and I had the light bulb because of something she said. And it was as simple as this. We were in Bahamas and I was playing a tournament and I busted. And there's a 25K the next day, but there's this like 1K rebuy thing. And I said to her, I said, yeah, I'm going to jump in this other one. I don't really feel like playing, but I'm going to jump in. And she said, like, you've never done well when you don't feel like playing. And of course, I'm defensive. I'm like, oh yeah, what about the time when, oh, you're right. I did. And so I said, okay, you know what? Because I always have FOMO, fear of missing out. and I don't like to miss them. So, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to get a good night's rest, and I'm going to play the 25K tomorrow. And I did really well. I came 17th out of like 300. I cashed for like 100K or something like that. But it sort of sparked the idea of 2024. I want to focus on quality over quantity, right? So I'm going to make sure that, and I'm going to trust my body and my mind. Like, I'm not going to like want to, because I think last year I was playing too much. I played so many more events than normal because I had these stupid side bets. And when you play too much, you go on autopilot. At least I do as you get older, fatigue is real. Like I can't be like when I was 22 and play 12 hours every day for, 7 hours. I need breaks. So I learned that. And this year during the World Series, one of the things I'll likely do is if I feel like I hit a wall, I'm going to take a day off. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I was just, you said something in the middle about you having some of those days that you're not feeling as you want to play. And I want to ask you, like, during the years, you feel like it's happening more often than when you were like 20s, 30s, I assume?
Not really. I'll tell you why. Because when I was in my 20s and 30s, well, especially in my 20s, I played every day, So that would happen sometimes. I'm like, I'm just playing. I don't really feel like it. Now I'm older, I have money, I don't need to play. So what I do is I play and then I don't. Like there's not like when I played the last series I played, when was it? I don't know, a month ago. I'm not playing another hand of poker to the World Series in another month. So by that time, 6 weeks, 2 weeks I haven't played, all of a sudden, I get the urge. Like I want to go play. You know what I mean? Because I'm not playing all the time. So I focus on like whether it's, the US Poker Open thing or the Poker Go Studio, like I focus my time on playing. And then when I'm done, I don't play at all. Like I don't think about the game. I do other things. But instead, I go on Twitter and I just argue with people about Israel.
The same energy, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of your poker career, which is, amazing, without using the words main and event, what is the one thing that you still want to achieve in poker?
I really want to I've won Player of the Year twice, the World Series Poker Player of the Year. I've won twice. I actually won it a third time. I did.
Yeah,
but
in
then 4 days
2019.
later, they said,
Then they
no,
took it away from you.
Yeah, I was a 3-time champ, and now I have to do it. So I'd like to hit 3 before anybody else hits 2. But in addition to that, I really want to have like a really just epic World Series, like where, it sounds crazy, but it's doable now. Like the record is 3 bracelets. Nobody's ever won 4. I've never won 3, but I want to win 4 in one summer. Like I think I can have that like perfect summer. And that's the thing. That's the great thing about poker. Like you're really never going to achieve perfection, right? It's never going to be like
you can't win every tournament.
But you know what? It's fun to chase it. And it's fun to like dream about it. And it's fun to think about like, man, what if I just sun run the whole month? And that's why I get like excited, because it's coming up next month. And the first day, there's always hope,
And also
go ahead.
If you do 4 bracelets, it will take you closer to Phil Hellmuth, and just imagining him sweating like Daniel is in my back, that can also be funny.
God. I'm so far behind because I've had Eli said in the beginning, I've had way too many second places, one of them to him. So yeah, I got to get off the seconds and start finishing the job.
Story of my life.
Yeah, in all those 100Ks that you played and all those.
You have a personal request for him.
Yeah, and now we get to the infamous song that you learn. I don't know if you learn it from your Jewish friends back home or from Israeli players, but a personal request: can you please stop singing that song?
Stop singing that song.
He doesn't like it.
I don't know
we
why.
Love it. We love it.
I love
he doesn't
it.
like
Yeah.
it.
You said the same thing.
No, I said that it's less funny than it used to be because I heard it like a million times. But
well, I always get requests when I'm like, people see me like Israelis. They say, "Do the song, do the song." I don't want to disappoint them. I won't do it for you.
No, that song was never funny to me. It just cringe. It's just offensive in so many levels, and I don't blame you. I mean, you're a funny guy. You like to have fun and to laugh and to talk shit about Phil Hellmuth. I don't care, but the fact that Israelis are approaching you and asking you to sing that stupid song, it just
Maybe it's the Israelis that are
Yeah.
fucked up.
And I tell this to all the Israelis that travel to Vegas. If you see Negreanu, please do not ask him to sing that song.
Well, here, let's make a deal then. You're gonna have to teach me a better song. Then.
Exactly.
You are actually
This is the next line.
yeah the next
Where-
line.
really?
we wanted to teach you the Bagova song.
Our theme
That's
song.
Bagova. Okay.
So either I think I will send it to Petty, his assistant.
Yeah,
I
we're
will
not
send-
gonna sing it
we're not
now
gonna
because
sing
we're
it.
not singers.
But basically, yeah. But also, first of all, that's his opinion. We love it. And second of all, you can always switch it to somebody who deserves it better. With like,
Oh, I already had that.
Bonomo.
I thought that's who I was gonna sing it for. You know, Bonomo. So now, oops, can't do it.
That's a little bit more acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. So almost 20 years ago, but it's of course continuing the years. We watched you play in high stakes poker with a lot of old schoolers, and let's say that from all of those old schoolers, you're almost the only one who stayed pretty relevant and in the top. And I wanted to ask, what do you think that made that happen?
So I think to be a really good poker player, you need a couple things. Number one is you need to have the self-awareness to really be honest about where you stand with your opponents. Never get to a place where you feel like I mastered it. I know everything. There's nothing left to be learned. Because it's the moment that you think that where you're surpassed. And in addition, so you have the self-awareness to say, okay, maybe these kids know something I don't. Then that requires humility to learn from them. Rather than poo-poo these kids and the 3 bets and 4 bets, you know.
And they're
Instead
solvers.
of that, and the GTO and the computers, instead of that, like I remember actually, it was very early on in my career in the Binion's Horseshoe in the late 90s. And I was young and I was hungry and I was really good, you know, comparatively. And the pros there, you know, they looked down and the kid, oh, this kid with the aggressive style. And I thought to myself, you guys are pros, you suck. Like, you guys suck. You two suck, right? And I'm sure a lot of young kids think that about me. The difference is, you know, every once in a while, like I look at where I stand, and if I feel like I need to update and make some changes and things like that, I have no problem bringing on people. Because listen, with GTO and solvers, I didn't know how to use none of that. I had no clue. So I hired people who did to sort of show me and teach me so that I can combine the knowledge of what they're learning with the wisdom that I've accumulated over 30 years to see, okay, this is what they're learning. This is what they're misapplying, in my opinion. So how do I take advantage of this? And I come up with my own ideas, my own bet sizing, my own different exploits that, you know, because listen, nobody's going to be able to ever play exactly like a computer until Neuralink and Elon Musk puts it all in our brain. But until then,
poker dies.
Until then, everybody who's using solvers, they think they're like having the right answer. That's not how it works. Because what you're doing, I don't know if you guys are familiar or use solvers. Yeah?
Yeah.
We have.
Then
So essentially,
I don't.
No, we are familiar. I can say I understand the half of
I've
the
used
things, but
solvers,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'll give you just like, I'll explain clearly like how people use them mostly. So it's a vast base of knowledge, right? But as a human, you ask the computer a question. You say, okay, in this spot, should I bet small? Should I bet big? Or should I overbet? Like 1.5 times pot, right? So you say, okay, 1/3 pot, 2/3 pot, 1.5 pot. You give it 3 variables. The computer will tell you of those 3, right? You know, which percentage to do what.
Yeah.
But you know what the computer can do? The computer can balance 30,000 sizes. So you might not be giving it the option to give the best answer. The best answer might be 4x pot. It might be 22%. But if you don't ask the right questions, the computer will never give you that. So I think it's limited in terms of how. I think the best way to use solvers is to learn, like, or one of the way that I use them is say, why does it do that? Why does the solver want me to call with a pair of 4s, but fold a pair of kings in this spot? And try to think like and understand why is it doing this? Like, what is the goal? And then you understand blockers and theory and different things like that. You know, from, you know, pattern recognition. But I think it's a mistake to try to just memorize solver outputs because we're human and we can't do all that.
Yeah.
I think that answers the next question also. You said the next question is that you said that long ago that poker is a simple game. If you have it, you bet. You don't, you fold. But Do you think do you still think it's a simple game?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Poker can be as simple as you make it, right? The way I was describing poker just now with all the solvers and stuff at the very high levels, that's very intricate and very difficult. But that's not the game you need to play. You can simplify this game, very much so. You don't have to get involved in any of that. Like I said, it's sort of a joke, but there's some truth to it. Bet when you have good cards. Don't bet when you don't have good cards, right? That's so simple, right? But if you play, in beginning games with like weaker players, that's good enough usually. That's usually good enough.
They say tide is right. I
Yeah,
just add that tide is right, but not delight, because it's not so fun to play tide.
So here's the issue though, right? If you play that way, the key is for nobody to know that. Because once they figure that out, now it no longer is a viable strategy because people will know, oh, when he plays, he has good cards. When he bets, he has good cards. So you have to keep the deception. You have to keep the illusion that you're not doing that. And so that's why it's important, like in Solverland or against pros, to have some bluffs, to find spots where you're not only playing good cards, you're finding good situations and things. Because if you don't, then they're never going to pay you. And you need, in order to build chips, you need to get paid.
Yeah, I just saw in one of your streams that you like turn pocket fives into a bluff because you have more quad eights in that spot. And then you go and you say, oh, Daniel doesn't have bluffs. You see, Daniel has bluffs. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I think he folded an overpair.
Good. He should fold. It's me. What do you mean? I never.
Yeah, you have an 8 there. Just you don't.
Always. What else can
I have a question. It's not a question I wrote, but of course it just came up to mind. It's not a question. It's not a question new to anybody. But you're an ambassador of GG Poker. We just spoke about solvers. You also play online. We all know all this debate about solvers and RTA. Well, I want to know what is your take on it. Some people say that online poker will die eventually because of those stuff, and I would like to know what you think about that.
So it's like, the game Cops and Robbers. You guys play that? Like Cops and so essentially, ever since the beginning of poker, there's always been people who try to cheat, and then there's people that try to catch them, right? Sometimes the cheaters are better, and then they don't catch them. And then, now they, so to modernize that, in venues, it's on the operators in the venues to continue to up their technology in their game as well, right? And they are, so, whatever, like new technologies available to people that want to cheat, that can also be available to the operators. But I think one of the key differences with online poker versus live is if we were playing in a live game and me and one of you were cheating the other two, you never get to see the cards. You'll never really know, right? Where here, because they have access to all the data, you can really spot things. And as long as the algorithm does a good job of figuring out, well, this doesn't make sense, or, this person's playing 100% GTO, that's impossible. There are other things that I won't divulge in terms of how security, catches people, because we do catch people and then we ban them. I think it was a couple of years ago, we banned about, it was like 150 or 200 accounts, for doing something. But I don't disagree with you in terms of the concern, right? Because like you said, there's always going to be people doing this. So maybe online poker takes on, another level of security. Maybe it becomes something where everyone shows their face, or maybe it becomes something where, you have camera on you or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But I do think like you said, it's a cat and mouse game, and you have to stay one step ahead of what the cheaters are doing.
Yeah, I agree. Another one from me. Basically, you wrote it, so you can ask it.
You take it, or maybe.
Yeah, okay. So you always look like you're having a lot of fun at the table, and we wanted to know what is that keeps you entertained all the time.
Entertained and entertaining. Sorry.
Yes.
It's funny because, so this is kind of counterintuitive for most, but I'm actually an introvert. And people don't understand necessarily what introvert extrovert means. Introvert means that when I'm alone, I charge my batteries, and that's where I gain energy. When I'm with people, I expend energy. But you know what? I like people. I like hanging around with people. I like talking. I like, getting to know people and having fun and making the game more interesting and fun like that. So I'm just being me in the place that I love most, which is to play poker. It's like a fun game. It's funny when you play poker, it feels like time flies.
Yeah.
Like you sit there and you play like, I just played 10 hours. what can you do for 10 hours? Like, you think you can go shopping with your wife for 10 hours? It'll be like 17 minutes, and I say, how long we've been here? You know, but it's with poker, it's because I love it. I think it's a good game for everyone to play in terms of like longevity for your brain. Whether it's poker, chess, or whatever, plenty of studies have showed that into older age, use it or lose it. You know, if you stop using your brain, you start to lose it. So I've always challenged myself. I enjoy the strategic aspect, but I also just really enjoy like, you know, I enjoy the competition, and I like getting to know people.
You know, we just said, what can you do for 10 hours? And I just had like this idea, like who will be the first airliner to do a flight where you have poker tables instead of regular seat, and you play poker, and then the 10-hour transatlantic flight just fly by because you play poker.
Yeah, well, probably maybe casinos they would want to do better, like slot machines and things like that.
I'm pretty sure there's a high-stake game on a plane, on a luxury plane somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
I'm gonna skip that one. Maybe you'll take it later. But I'm interested to know. You play a lot of the in inverted commas new tours like the Poker Go Cup, the US Open, super high rollerballs and stuff like that. All seem to have the same players pool, especially in Vegas. Is there a difference between all those tournaments? How much are they different from the prestiges the prestige of WSOP and WPT?
Oh, they're definitely different than the World Series, and you're right. You know, you're 100% right. It's the same player pool for the most part. Having said that, you know, the studio now has like a PLO series. That's a different group of people. Then it has a mixed game series. That's also a different group of people. I'm one of maybe 3 people who's playing all of them, the no limits to all of them like that. But it's fun for me because it's here in Las Vegas. It's in a beautiful studio. It's my favorite place to play. It's kind of private. You know, people can walk in, but people usually don't. They feel a little intimidated. So I don't be, for lack of a better term, I don't get bothered much, you know. Nobody wants my autograph that's at the table or anything like that. You know, the World Series is a different animal in that regard. And, you know, the World Series brings in a lot more recreationals. It also brings a lot more people from Europe and all over the world, where, you know, the Poker Go tour is mostly for people here, you know, in Las Vegas, I think. Like, obviously people come and go, but it's nice for us to have something here in Vegas, because I don't really travel anymore, you know. I miss the Tritons. I always want to go to them, but then I realize I don't really want to leave my house. You know, I don't want to travel. But other than like the World Series of Poker, the Bahamas World Series of Poker, no, I don't. I mean, actually, just the Bahamas World Series is like the only traveling I do. And also to play when Gigi has their online poker series, I usually go somewhere to stream, because unfortunately, in the free United States of America, I'm sitting here in front of my computer, but they say, no, if you want to sit in front of your computer, go to Mexico, go somewhere else. So I go.
Yeah. Here it's the same for live poker, basically.
Yeah.
You just spoke about all the type of games, PLO, No Limit, all the other stuff which I don't even know the rules for. What do you enjoy the most? Do you still enjoy the most No Limit, or is it other things?
It's really never been No Limit, oddly.
Never been. Okay.
Yeah, it's
No, like
it's
No
been
Limit's a
Limit
game that
and
I'm
PLO.
actually good at, but as far as enjoyment goes, like I like mixed games. I really enjoy mixed games. And there's sort of been a new advent in the last 5 years, I want to say, of dealer's choice tournaments. And I found like there's so much fun skill to dealer's choice, because there's like 20 different games you can pick, right? But when it's up to you, you have to decide what you're going to pick. Well, how are you picking? Are you just going to pick the game that you play the best?
No,
Right?
the games where you
Or-
have the best advantage against the other players.
Yeah. So what do you factor in? You factor in who's at the table, who has chips, how many chips do I have, what stage of the tournament is it, is there ICM involved, you know? So most of the time, let's say I call Pot Limit Omaha, because it's one of my better games in the mix like that for sure, because it's usually people are afraid. But then all of a sudden, if I get Ben Lamb or some crusher sit on my left, say, okay, well, let's try a different game, you know? If I get short on chips, I say, okay, stud high low regular. So that's what's fun for me, is constantly thinking about what strategically makes the most sense. And also, it's important, you know, what's cool about it is you have to be good at a lot of games, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can have a couple games you're not good at, but the thing is, the sharp guys, they'll figure it out. They call a game, they see you play a few hands and say, you know what, my friend, we're going to keep playing this game because you suck.
Do you still play? I remember Asi Moshe was here like a few times in our podcast. He's famous Israeli players, have four WSOP bracelets, and he spoke about these poker guys who play Hearthstone, right? I think I pronounced it right. Do you still play it, by the way?
I'll tell you what, I got so addicted to that game. I really did. That I was playing like 10 hours a day. I couldn't stop playing. And I literally had to quit cold turkey because I'm like, buddy, go to the gym. Go live your life. Go play poker. Go do something. What are you doing? You know? But it was always there, you know? So it was always fun to play and go. And it is a fun game. I love the game. But yeah, right now in my life, I think as far as habits go, maybe, you know, someday I'll pick it up again, but I'll have to monitor how much time I play.
You want to ask this one?
Sure. You seem to have different personalities on Twitter versus on live poker. You're getting into a lot of debates and beefs with people. How do you explain the difference between the poker table Daniel and social media Daniel?
So here's the thing I think is true for most people, right? When I write something on social media, you just read what I wrote. You read it in the voice that you read it, you know, however you receive it. You don't get any intonation. You don't get any facial expression. You don't see where I'm coming from. You don't get the like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but this. So people in social media do not communicate as well as they do in live situations, right? If you and me, we had a disagreement about something, I say, okay, I hear you, but let me, you know, and then you go back and forth, but you're much more respectful in front of people. When people are behind their keyboard, you know, they get a little more aggressive and aggro. And to tell you the truth, I don't think I have a different persona at all. If people know me, they know that every human is complex, right? You have your good side and your bad side. Like, I can be funny, I can have fun, but if you push me and you push me in the wrong way, I can be I'm very good at being arrogant, incredibly good at being condescending, and absolutely fantastic at being an overall prick if you push me, right? So the thing is, on social media, whenever people poke me like that, sometimes I like to have fun with them. And I laugh. I write these tweets, I laugh. I literally have one that I was going to write to Bonomo, a long one, that maybe I'll share with you guys privately. But I thought about it. I sat on it overnight and I said, okay, do I want to open this can of worms? And I decided, no, it's not worth it. Right? So I showed it to Ellie. Ellie says, if you post it, I will retweet it 100%. But I'm like, it's pretty brutal. Yeah.
In Hebrew, we have a saying, it's a mature fold.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I've learned a lot. Like, even though I'm still tweeting, so many times I write out a tweet, and right before I press send, I go, I don't this. And then I've deleted. If you saw my list of deleted tweets, those would be a lot more interesting than the ones I post.
Yeah, I want to see that list.
Yeah.
This is going to be an amazing read.
Yeah.
Wait, in regard to this question, that brings me back to a question that we didn't ask in the previous in the segment about Israel. So, if you do meet Justin Bonomo in an elevator sometime, like in Vegas or something like that, do you engage a conversation? Do you start an argument, or do you just ignore him, say hello, and move on with your life?
So I took a policy years ago to just ignore him and not acknowledge his existence at all, right? If you see, recently we were at a table together, no talking, no nothing. He tries to talk to me sometimes. Like, and one of the last times we were at the Poker Go studio, he asked me, he said, if I ask you nicely, will you stop calling me Justin Jihadimo? And I thought about it and I said, nah, I don't think so. And then he started going on me and all this kind of stuff and trying to talk to me. But here's the thing I've learned, right? So, you know, lately I've had a little bit of free time just waiting for the World Series. So I've been on Twitter mostly, but like, I genuinely don't get back into these back and forths. You know, these long threads that you're going to post this and I'm going to post this article and then you're going to post this one and I'm going to post this. And you're not going to listen to what I have to say anyway. You're just going to look for what proves me wrong. And I'm going to do probably the same thing. So what are we doing here? We're wasting how many hours are we wasting just going back and forth? You believe what you believe. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. Now, there is something to be said about other people who are just lurkers and maybe don't understand it as well, where you can make points to them. So there's some value in that. But what I typically do is when people want to go, you know, and they want to go back to 1942 or 1948 or wherever the year they want to, and go over the detailed history of everything that's happened throughout time. I'm like, buddy, I don't want to spend the next 15 hours doing that. You know, this isn't a research project for me. I've done the work. I did my research. I know the history of the land and I understand, you know, how it was created, who's indigenous. I did my work. If you know, I'm not going to like do it for you. And you're probably not going to buy it anyway because TikTok disagrees with me.
By the way, it reminds you of a story which my buddy here and we didn't manage to make sure it's correct about Bonomo, and now they're playing the EPT Monte Carlo, and there's like a story of an Israeli player who slow rolled him 7 minutes with aces all in pre-flop. We don't know. We just heard it. We don't know if it's true. Do you use, by the way, slow rolls as revenge?
Nah, that doesn't do anything for me. You know, here's what I do. And I'll tell you, I think if you watched the last final table we were at, I don't want to bring it to the table. You know, that can stay out. But at the table, I want to be professional. You know, if it's a friendly table, I'll talk to them. If it's people that I don't like and I don't want to have, I'm not going to start a beef with them at the table and start calling them names and all this kind of stuff. I'd rather just keep it class, because the truth is, it's childish. It looks bad. It doesn't represent the game very well. Obviously, my tweets and the Twitter battles don't either. But when I'm playing, I'm focused on winning, you know, and I'm focused on, you know, making sure I play the best poker I can. But yeah, like, again, if I felt there was any hope for someone like him, you know, I would have conversations and try to show him like common sense. But there is none. I've learned this over many years with him. It's like, okay, he went down a rabbit hole. There's no coming back from, you know, everything's racist. Everything's, you know, sexist. Everything's, you know, I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I tell you what's funny is whichever political spectrum you go down, whether it's the far left, the progressives, or the far right, it's amazing how they end up going farther and farther away, and they both have the same enemy. And it's always the Jews. You know what I mean? No matter which way you go, it's always the Jews' fault, no matter what.
Yeah.
I agree. There was it's a bit a personal question, so you don't have to respond if you don't want. If my buddy here is not wrong, in 2 weeks you will be celebrating your 5th anniversary with Amanda, and we wanted
Thanks for reminder.
2 weeks, Daniel. Put it in your
yeah,
calendar.
If it's incorrect, blame him, not me.
Right, right. My God.
I do my research.
Yeah, we wanted to ask if being a married man changed you. I guess I assume it changed you personally, but let's say poker-wise, how a married man changed your game, your life,
Your career.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being married to Amanda specifically, you know, changed me in several ways. And I'll use the analogy where, like, I think like when you're in your 20s, right? You care what other people think of you. Just, you know, you just do. In your 30s, you know, maybe you don't think you care as much, but you still kind of do. In my 40s, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I have no fucks to give. I have my beautiful wife. I have my beautiful home. I have the life I always dreamed of. So it allowed me the freedom to be authentic. And I really love people who are authentic, and it's very difficult to get there because people are afraid of being judged. But it allows me to be my authentic self, both in life and at the poker table, right? And also have like with her, having the support of her and knowing that she always believes in me helps me in spots where I'm like, let's say if I had self-doubt or anything like that, that's quickly squashed, you know, by her, you know. And I do have like, I have a confidence in just knowing that, like, even though I take a, you know, non-traditional path as compared to what young people learn today, I know what I'm doing. I know that it works. I can feel it. I've been doing this for 30 years. And obviously having her on my side, you know, just makes it easier. And the bottom line is this too. It's like, there's less pressure because it's just poker, you know, like it's my video game. It's what I enjoy to do, but it's not my whole life.
I agree. Let's
Some great insights.
Yeah, let's give some questions from our dear listeners. We posted a post on Facebook.
And our Facebook page exploded.
Yeah, basically. So do you want to go with the first one?
Sure. Elad Adler wanted to ask if you think your ability to read other opponents is something you can learn, or is it a natural gift that you're born with?
It's both. Okay. It really is. Like, think about this. So what we do as human beings is this: when you're a baby, you're just a little baby in your mother's arms. Like, you can look at your mother as a baby, you know nothing, but you can tell when she's sad, when she's happy, when she's angry. You see those emotions as a baby. So innately, we have that ability to read emotion, you know, and that, what happens is, as we get older, we start to rationalize away those things. You know, we don't trust our read, if you will. We don't trust our instincts about what we're seeing in facial expressions, right? So at the core, we're always born to do that. So it's definitely something you can improve upon. And the main way to do that really is observation. Pay attention. Honestly, just pay attention. See what the guy did, watch him, make a little note in your head or even in your phone, and then watch the next time he does that. What does he show? Does he show a bluff? Does he have it? You know, keep track of these little things. You start to notice patterns with different people, but it's definitely something that can be improved upon. Some people are going to be better at it than others, because obviously, you know, over 30 years, I've seen a lot of hands with a lot of different people. And I even find, no joke, I find I can pinpoint people based on where they're from, like culturally. There are different mannerisms that you'll see from a guy from India that mean different things than somebody from France or from Israel. You know, there's, you know, the
What do you think about
who is
what do you
who is
think
the
about
easiest?
Israeli poker players? Like, do they always bluff? Do they always have it?
I think
We
they
never
lean
have
bluffing.
it.
I think
What again? What's that?
I think they lean bluffing. The Israeli pokers
Yeah,
lean more
I
towards
agree.
We never have
lean
it.
bluffing. Like, why not? Bet, put, you know.
Bad jam.
Yeah, why not? You know, I think from my experience, you know, they lean towards, you know, more bluff heavy.
By the way, who you said you can identify a nationality of somebody, but who is the easiest? Like, what is the easiest nationality to identify according to all aspects?
Well, again, there's not that many of them, but the ones that are really native to there, I find like Indian players they do a lot of movement. You know, they talk with their hands, they move their head a lot. Like, you know, if they say you know, they just do a lot of moving, you know, and it's just the natural way that they speak, right? So I found that there's some reliable tells among Indian players that I've spotted.
Okay.
Okay, Ohad Peretz asked, what were the most challenging times in your career? And of course, how did you handle those?
I think the most challenging times in my career really, you know, in the outset, right? Because in the beginning, like, you believe that you can be successful. You believe you can make it, but you don't have any evidence of it, right? So you're still going into a profession or an area where you're guessing, you know, and there's like uncertainty there, right? And then there's self-doubt, and then there's no money. And then you go, what am I going to do next? You know, so those times, I think, when I was first trying to make the foray into Las Vegas poker and I wasn't doing well, every time I would come, I'd lose my money and go home, lose my money and go home. So it was like, do I keep doing this? Right. But it helped me dig deep into the resilience aspect of who I am, in terms of like waking up the next day and still wanting to do it. As far as like poker, like luck wise, I mean, this is just true. Like, obviously, you know, you mentioned at the top of the show, last year was my worst year results wise. That last year and the year before, and I went through 2.5 years of the most, and listen, we all do it. I'm not saying I'm special, but for me, I was very blessed that for 30 years, I never experienced something like this. The 2.5 years in all ins, I got to the point where I was just scared. I was like, oh shit, I have kings. He has, you know, queen 7. How am I going to win? You know, it's like, it was like, because I saw the craziest things. I just kept like, I went through, like, I was in my vlog, I think, at the World Series. I
like
remember 3 weeks in a row, I filmed them all. I filmed I lost every one. I said, I can't win if I lose the all-ins.
Your selfie stick remembers it, I think.
Yes, my selfie stick remembers it. Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Another tangent. But yeah, no, like, so yeah, I would say for me, because the thing is, what's difficult for any poker player is when you feel like you're really playing your best, but the results aren't there, you have to learn through wisdom, is it you? Are you really playing well? Or are you actually just having a really bad luck of variance? And I've been playing for 30 years. I have a short checklist of questions I ask myself. And if they're all good, they're good. And if not, I start to look at things maybe I can improve.
Great.
Okay, thank
amazing.
you. Yeah.
Another question. First of all, before this question, I want to shout out two listeners who asked questions that we already asked in a similar way. So to our friend Eyal Ben Simchon,
and
asked about
Noah Vaknin.
And Noah Vaknin asked about what you still want to achieve. And now Ronnie Plotnik wants us to ask, we want you to name top 3 opponents that you don't want to play with.
Well, for what reason though?
Not Jihadamo reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go with
Okay.
the one poker wise, the tough.
Yeah,
about.
I'll answer the question of the guys that are, the toughest. And here's the thing. Frankly, it's not a wise question to answer, right? And I'll tell you why. Because if your opponents find that out, that's a psychological advantage they have against them. But I'll give you a few just simply because, I don't think they're listening to this podcast.
Yeah,
No,
no,
probably not.
no.
Don't retweet the videos when I put them on Twitter.
No, it's fine. A guy that's been tough, to play against, has caused me some problems, is Alex Foxen. We have very clashing styles. He's very good, very aggressive. He's in your face. I still think for me, it's been many, many years, but we know so much about each other. It's fun. I enjoy it, but Phil Ivey is very difficult because he's very, very good at reading and stuff like that. And the third one, well, he's not allowed to play anymore, but he was very tough before he went down the wrong path, and that was Jake Schindler. A long time ago, but he's no longer on the map.
Okay. Elad Naveh, our dear friend, and he also, I know he doesn't care that I mention it. He's one of the survivors of the October 7th. He and his family is one of the survivors of the October 7th attack. They lived in Be'eri, and luckily nothing happened to them. So he wanted to ask, when did you realize that the nickname Kid Poker is not relevant anymore, or do you still think it is?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Kid Rock is how old? What is he, 60?
Yes. Yes.
I believe that I've always had sort of the Peter Pan syndrome where I think I'm young. I feel young. I don't feel 49. I feel like a young guy. I never really was one that called myself Kid Poker. It was other people, and it all just came from an email address that I had. And when I actually was a kid as a teenager, that's what they all called me, was Kid. Hey kid. And I would write my name on the board as Kid. And then that became, Kid Poker. I think more people now, from a friend of mine, she came up with the name D-Eggs. So more people call me, especially my friends call me D-Eggs now than over Kid Poker. But I'm fine with the nickname because I embrace it. I think and this is going to sound kooky and maybe new age, but I think getting old is a choice too, right? I really do. I have friends that are my age and, they don't have that same approach to or view of life. They feel old. They say, we're getting old. I say, maybe you are. I'm not. We're in the same grade though. What do you mean? Yeah, well, it's a state of mind,
Yeah, it's a mindset.
Yeah, okay. Basically, we ran down most of our questions. I would say, what would be a good World Series of Poker for you? I mean, we just entered May, and it starts at the end of May. What would you consider a successful WSOP for you?
4 bracelets.
Well, 4 bracelets would be very, very successful. I'll answer that question 2 ways. Number one, for me, success is measured by the journey, not the result, right? So I'm a big believer in what is my game plan going in, right? Did I follow that game plan? If I did, it's a success, like a smashing success. Obviously, there'll be some days where, you're maybe off kilter, but for the most part, if I went in and did all the things that I was supposed to do, I consider it a success. As far as result-wise, I look at success as obviously winning a bracelet, winning Player of the Year. At this point, because I had 2 losing World Series in a row, and I sell the package on PokerStake, just a winning financial series too, where there's more money coming back than less. So any one of those things, or even all 3 of them, would be considered a success. But again, like I said, I think it's for me, I don't know, listen, everyone does do it the way they want, but for me, it's a valuable approach, is to not focus on results, focus on the journey. When the journey's over and you finished, now you can look back at the results and say, okay, well, you didn't get the results you wanted. Let's take a look. Maybe there's something in the plan that needs changing. Okay, great. Next time we're going to update it.
Are you going to do again a lot of vlogs from the WSOP with your crew and a lot of content?
The crew is just me. I'm the one who shoots it all, basically. I have one guy who helps. But every year during the World Series for the past, since 2016, I've done every day a vlog. There's been, even when I didn't play, there was a vlog. This year, I'm going to do one every day, but I might have some days off, which I don't play anything. And we're considering whether or not maybe I'll take the full day off from the vlog or possibly do some hand reviews and things like that. We'll see. But there'll be plenty of vlogs throughout the entire summer. I'll be playing all the big tournaments. So check it out.
Yeah,
We will.
I love your vlogs. I was waiting for each
And-
one to come out. Like, how was Daniel doing yesterday?
Yeah. I think that's like kind of the idea behind the vlogs was like to make a fun sweat with that, you know, like with Poker Steak, I can sell pieces of my action, right? So if you're like a fan, you buy like $100 worth. Now you, for the whole summer, you have a sweat. And if you don't know, if you don't spoil the results, you can watch the vlog and it's like your money. You know what I mean? Like, it's like your horse, like you bet on a team and, you know, you can sort of live vicariously through it. So, unfortunately, sometimes like the videos have spoilers. People hate that. You know, where it says final table run, and like the vlog starts when there's like 100 people left. I'm like, well, shit, you know.
Yeah, one exciting thing for me every year during the WSOP, I do sort of a live tweeting of the whole series on my Telegram. I update. I do everything about every Israeli players, every known, well-known player.
Basically, it doesn't sleep for 2 months.
Yeah, I do it, and whenever there's a player, when there's an Israeli player running deep, so I put a little Israel flag next to their name. And if there's a former podcast guest, I put a little heart next to their name. And to write Daniel Negreanu with a little heart, this is gonna be, this is up there. This is great.
Yeah.
You actually now you have to run deep, so we can put a lot of hearts next to your name.
You're gonna have a lot of hearts.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to ask because I think there was a question which we didn't put in with the Facebook comments about that deep run on the main event on 2015, which was I think it was amazing for everyone. You reached 11, so close to the final table. You still have that dream of doing a WSOP main event final table, or you say, okay, I can live without being in the final table. Let me have, I don't know, 2 bracelets instead.
No, I tell you what, the last 2-3 years, the main event, it's been spooky. I'm like, how in the hell am I just not getting any chips in this? It's like 3 years in a row. I've gotten like no chips in that thing. So I know that I have a game and an approach that's perfect for that event. So I just need to put it together, and I'm looking forward to, you know, it's just so much fun. It's like when I made that 11th place run, like you said, I made one 11th earlier in my career. It was electric. I mean, the whole stadium, like the Thunderdome was roaring and crazy. And it was like, I could feel, you know, when I was all in against Joe McKeon, you know, with one card to come, it was like, I just like couldn't breathe. And then I banged my head against the ground. Like that was all just authentic. And it was super fun. Like I was in the moment for sure.
So it's still is it still the most special tournament of the year for you, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's special, you know. So for me, my favorite tournament to play is the $50,000 buy-in Poker Players Championship. But as far as special goes, the one that's mainstream, the one everybody knows about, the one that's like, you know, got the deep structure and everybody's bucket list has got to be the main event. You know, it's always going to be. The World Series Poker main event is unparalleled, and you know, we're breaking records. Like poker's in a really good place. It's growing all over the world, and everyone knows. You know, if you want to, you know, pick one 10K to play, and you know you want to save money for that, the main event is the one to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Guys coming, you're gonna come play the main event.
This year, are you coming?
I played the main event. It was my first time last year. I sold like 70% because obviously I don't want to spend 10K. But I was actually a few tables next to you. Next time I will come and say hello. I was shy back then, but I think none of us are going to WSOP this year, right? You're not all going
this year, no. But I am planning on playing the main event
next
at least.
year. I'm 40, and I
twice.
believe you're 50 next year, right? So.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Thanks for
40.
reminding
Yeah, I'm 40. He's 50. We can do
I'm 35. That's
yeah.
also kind of
so
round.
we can bring like a birthday cake and stuff in the main event.
Yalla.
Okay.
Yalla.
Yalla.
Anything else?
No, I just a thought that had in my head through all this episode. Like we're looking at the monitor over there, and it's about through all the episode, it looked like we're talking to God or something like that. We look up. He's over there. He's above us.
Well, you set it up, not me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so first of all, really thank you again for coming. For us, it's a pleasure. We appreciate your time with us, and we appreciate, of course, all the support for us. I mean, for us, the Israeli community, since we're not getting a lot of support, especially not from famous people. So for us, it's a very, it means a lot. So we want to wish you, first of all, a nice summer and World Series of Poker. We wish that all the hostages will be back soon, back in our homeland. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think Yam Israel Chai.
I'm Israel.
I'm
Hi.
Israel Chai. Totally.
Thank you very much. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much. It was amazing.
You got it, guys. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Daniel. Or you can
See you
stop
guys.
the recording.
All right.
Wait.
I
Wow.
click